Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina wa Habibina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to these short reflections on openings from isolation. I'm here at the Autumn Project Academy, Top Academy. You can't hear the Quran being recited, you can't hear the laughter of the children or the instruction of the teachers because of the lockdown situation. So it's quite strange sitting here without hearing those things. But alhamdulillah, we've been very successful in moving the lessons online onto Zoom so that the ahkam of the deen can be continued to teach, the Quran, the tajweed is continued to teach over line. And so we're using those technologies in the best way possible, inshaAllah. But we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we can come back here physically again in the near future, inshaAllah. And again, I hope that you will support the project in terms of your du'as, in terms of your donations, to keep moving forwards and to be able to support us through this time, inshaAllah. Yesterday we spoke about wudhu and the ablution being an excellent way of focusing the mind. Automatically it happens as you're doing wudu, but also that if you're able to be more mindful in some of our formal worships, that this can have a good knock-on effect. We know the spiritual benefits, we know the openings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we know the reward, and we talked about the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam yesterday about the person who does wudu in the best way, recites the shahada, makes the dua, that the 8 gates of paradise will be open for them for whichever they choose. So we know the rewards, but at this time of anxiety, of overthinking, of unsurety, it's something that we can really focus on, the mindful aspects of some of our worships, because we know that it's beneficial for our mental health, for our cognitive processes. So hopefully you've had some time, you must have made wudu since the last video, so hopefully you've really focused on the water splashing or running down your limbs, the sins being dropping off as the water and the ma mustamil comes off the body. Hopefully you've been making those du'as of adab that we're taught as we're growing up. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us our book in our right hand as we're washing our right hand. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to smell Jannah, the rih, the smell of Jannah, when we're sniffing up water into our nose. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us speed across the sirat when we're washing our feet. So these du'as, implement them. Again, they help you to focus in on the act of ibaadah. Wudu is an act of ibaadah as well. It's a key to the prayer, but it's also a worship within itself. So these things take time, and it's over with consistency, with practice, but I just, with these brief videos, just wanted to give you examples of things that you can focus on. One of the natural things to lead on to is the Salaah. And Salaah, again, is naturally inculcative of mindfulness practices. Even just before the prayer, you've got to think about the time. Has the time come in? You're looking around at where the sun is in the sky, or has the sun set? We become automatically orientated to the sun, to the moon, to the time of day. We also orientate ourselves to the direction of prayer. You get those little discussions just before the salah happens, and everyone's got out their phones or the compasses and trying to find the exact direction. But this orientates us. This orientates us to a space, to a place in time. Whichever direction you turn, there is the countenance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But for us, for our unity, for our this is the qibla that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for. So the prayer orientates us, time, in space, orientates us to nature. And as soon as we start the prayer, we leave the dunya behind us. This is the idea of the takbir al-tahrim, that we, as soon as we say Allahu Akbar, Allah is greater, we push everything else behind us. We're now entered into that conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as the prayer continues, there's a crescendo of mindfulness of your address of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you think of the Fatiha, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, or praise be to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the most gracious, the most merciful, Maliki Yawmiddin, the master of the day of judgment. All of these are addressing God in the third person. And then, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Only you do we worship, and only you do we seek help and sustenance from. This is the turning from third person to the second person. And again, so many secrets in the Fatiha. One of the secrets is this crescendo as you focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you then turn to that direct addressal of Him. So in the prayer, we're trying to be motionless, other than the movements of the prayer itself, the sujood and the ruku', etc. We have to be focused. We contemplate on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We focus our gaze to the floor, to where we do sajda. All of these things to try and get rid of any external thoughts, any kind of intrusive thoughts that come in. We're pushing them out. And we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for protection from those things, so that we can, to the point where Sayyidina Ja'far ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, when he was shot by an arrow whilst he was praying, he didn't even notice it. In one of the battles, he was struck by an arrow. He was in the Salaah, he didn't notice it. He came out of the prayer, gave salams, came out of the prayer and saw the wound and fainted. As he came round back to consciousness, the companions were trying to remove the arrow, and he was in excruciating pain. And he said, "Let me go back into the prayer and you can remove it." He went back into the prayer, saying Allahu Akbar, and the Sahaba removed it, and they said he didn't flinch. This is one of the proofs for the Shafi'i madhab of bleeding not breaking the wudhu. So this is the intense mindfulness, concentration, khushu' in the prayer of the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum, things that we can't imagine attaining, but may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us mindfulness in our prayer, khushu' to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we get to the point then where we finish the salah and we say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And rather than then just jumping up and getting on with things, because again, this is probably a sign that you've not been too attentive in the prayer, is we go to our istighfar, we go to our dhikr, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. This is a way of tawazun. This is tawazun back from that intimate conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, back into the worldly life and getting on with things. This is the dhikr allows us to transition between those states. Just as you're transitioning between sleep and wakeful states, again, we transition from very mindful, intimate conversations with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala back into the worldly life. So these are two examples of formal worship where we can focus our mind, focus our thoughts, be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, rather than letting our thoughts overtake us, be distracted and be concerned about the future. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your fasting today, accept your good deeds, accept your standing in prayer. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us people of ikhlas, people of sincerity and tranquility and mindfulness of Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.